pen shook in Emma's hand as tears rolled down her cheeks. Her pregnant belly pressed against the table while she signed the divorce papers. It was Christmas Eve. The room was full of people laughing, drinking, and having fun at the fancy Christmas party. But nobody was laughing louder than her husband Daniel's family. "Sign it faster," Daniel's mother, Margaret, shouted with a mean smile on her face. "We don't have all night to watch you cry like a baby." Daniel stood next to his mother with his arms crossed. He didn't even look sad. His eyes were cold like ice. The same eyes that once looked at Emma with love now looked at her like she was nothing. Like she was trash. "Good riddance," Daniel's sister Jessica said while sipping her expensive wine. "Finally, my brother can marry someone who actually belongs in our world. Not some nobody from nowhere." Emma's hand finally finished writing her name. The last letter felt like signing away her heart. She was 6 months pregnant with Daniel's baby. The baby kicked inside her belly as if it knew mommy was sad. The whole Thompson family clapped and cheered like they had just won a prize. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Emma wasn't just some nobody. And in exactly 7 days, their entire world would come crashing down in ways they could never imagine. But before I tell you what happens next, let me know in the comments. Where are you watching this from? Drop your country or city below. And if you want to see how this story ends, make sure you keep watching because you won't believe what Emma does next. Let me take you back to where this nightmare really began. 3 months before that terrible Christmas party, Emma and Daniel were actually happy. Or at least Emma thought they were happy. Emma was 26 years old with long brown hair and kind eyes. She always wore simple clothes, jeans and t-shirts mostly. She worked as a teacher at a small school in the city. The children loved her because she was patient and sweet. Daniel was 30 years old, tall with blonde hair and blue eyes. He worked at his family's company, Thompson Industries. The company made computer parts and was very successful. The Thompson family was rich. Very, very rich. But Emma didn't care about money when she met Daniel 2 years ago. She fell in love with him because he seemed different from other rich people. He seemed kind. He seemed real. They met at a coffee shop. Emma was reading a book when Daniel accidentally spilled coffee on her table. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," Daniel had said, grabbing napkins to clean up the mess. Emma had laughed. "It's okay. Accidents happen." They started talking. Daniel didn't tell her about his rich family at first. They just talked about books, movies, and dreams. Felt easy. Felt right. 6 months later, they got married in a small ceremony. Emma's parents had died in a car accident when she was 18, so she had no family at the wedding. It was just Daniel's family and a few friends. That should have been Emma's first warning sign. At the wedding, Daniel's mother Margaret barely smiled. She wore a fancy purple dress and a face that looked like she smelled something bad. "So, Emma," Margaret had said during the reception, "Daniel tells me you're a teacher? How sweet." The way she said sweet made it sound like an insult. Daniel's father, Robert, was a big man with gray hair. He just shook Emma's hand and said, "Welcome to the family." But his eyes were empty, like he didn't mean it. Daniel's sister Jessica was even worse. She was 28, always wore designer clothes, and looked at Emma like she was a bug. "I hope you know what you're getting into," Jessica had whispered to Emma at the wedding. "Marrying into the Thompson family isn't easy. We have standards." But Emma ignored all the warning signs because Daniel seemed to love her. He held her hand. He kissed her forehead. He told her every day that she was his world. For 1 whole year, things were good. They lived in a nice apartment that Daniel paid for. Emma kept teaching because she loved her job. Daniel worked long hours at his family's company, but they always made time for each other. Then Emma got pregnant. She found out on a sunny Tuesday morning. She took 3 pregnancy tests just to be sure. All 3 showed 2 pink lines. Emma was so excited. She planned a special dinner to tell Daniel. She cooked his favorite meal, chicken pasta with garlic bread. She bought a tiny pair of baby shoes and put them in a gift box. When Daniel came home that night, Emma was glowing with happiness. "I have a surprise for you," she said with the biggest smile. Daniel looked tired, but he smiled back. What is it? Emma handed him the box. Daniel opened it and saw the tiny shoes. His face went blank for a second. Then he looked up at Emma. You're pregnant. Yes, Emma said, tears of joy in her eyes. We're going to have a baby. Daniel's reaction was strange. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Wow, that's big news. Aren't you happy? Emma asked, her smile fading a little. Of course I am, Daniel said quickly. He hugged her, but the hug felt stiff. Wrong somehow. I'm just surprised. We should tell my family. That's when everything started to change. Daniel insisted they tell his family right away. So the next Sunday, they went to the Thompson family mansion for dinner. The mansion was huge, like something from a movie. It had tall white columns, a circular driveway, and a fountain in the front. Inside, everything was expensive. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. The floors were shiny marble. Paintings that probably cost more than a car hung on every wall. Margaret greeted them at the door wearing a cream-colored dress and pearls. Daniel, darling, she said, kissing her son's cheeks. Then she looked at Emma. Emma, how nice to see you. No kiss for Emma, just a tight smile. The whole family gathered in the dining room. The table was long enough for 12 people. Robert sat at the head of the table. Margaret sat next to him. Jessica sat across from Emma with her husband, Brad, who worked as a lawyer. Daniel cleared his throat. Mom, Dad, everyone, Emma and I have some news. Margaret's eyebrows went up. Oh, I'm pregnant, Emma said softly, putting her hand on her still flat belly. We're going to have a baby. The silence that followed was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Robert put down his wine glass slowly. Margaret's face went pale, then red. Jessica's mouth dropped open. You're what? Margaret finally said, her voice sharp as glass. We're having a baby, Mom, Daniel said. Isn't it great? Great. Margaret stood up so fast her chair almost fell over. Great? Daniel, we discussed this. You were supposed to wait until... She stopped suddenly, looking at Emma, then back at Daniel. We need to talk, Margaret said. In private. Now. Daniel looked uncomfortable. Mom, can't this wait? Now, Daniel. Daniel got up and followed his mother out of the room. Robert and Jessica went with them. Emma sat alone at the big table, feeling confused and hurt. She could hear them arguing in the next room. The walls were thick, but voices were loud. How could you be so stupid? That was Margaret's voice. She's my wife, Daniel said. She's a nobody, Margaret shouted. We had plans for you, Daniel. You were supposed to marry Victoria Blackwood. Her family owns Blackwood Tech. That merger would have made us billions. I love Emma, Daniel said, but his voice sounded weak. Love, Jessica laughed. It was a mean sound. Daniel, wake up. Mom and Dad only let you marry her because they thought you'd get bored and divorce her before any real damage was done. But a baby? That changes everything. Emma's heart shattered into a million pieces. They had been waiting for Daniel to divorce her? This whole time? What do you want me to do? Daniel asked. His voice was even weaker now. You know what needs to happen, Margaret said coldly. End this marriage. We'll pay her off. Give her enough money to take care of the baby. She'll be fine. But me, Daniel. You want to stay in this family? You want your position at the company? Your trust fund? Your inheritance? Then you do what needs to be done. Silence. Then Daniel said the words that killed Emma's heart. Okay, I'll do it. Emma stood up from the table. Her legs felt like jelly. She walked to the dining room door on shaking legs and saw them all standing in the hallway. They turned and looked at her. Nobody looked guilty. Nobody looked sorry. Emma, Daniel started. I heard everything, Emma said quietly. Tears were already falling. You were planning to divorce me? This whole time? Margaret stepped forward. Oh, stop being so dramatic. You knew this marriage was temporary. A girl like you could never really be part of this family. A girl like me? Emma's voice cracked. You have no family, no money, no connections, Jessica said, counting on her fingers. You're a teacher making $30,000 a year. You wear clothes from Target. You drive a 10-year-old car. Did you really think you belonged here? Robert finally spoke. His voice was cold and businesslike. We'll give you $500,000. That's more than generous. You can raise the child comfortably. Just sign the divorce papers and disappear from our lives. Emma looked at Daniel, her husband, the man she loved, the father of her baby. Daniel? She whispered. Say something. Tell them this is crazy. Daniel looked at his shoes. He couldn't even look at her. I think it's for the best, he mumbled. We rushed into this marriage. You'll be happier without me. Without all this pressure. Emma couldn't believe what she was hearing. This couldn't be real. This had to be a nightmare. I love you, Emma said, her voice breaking. Doesn't that mean anything? Daniel finally looked up at her. His eyes were empty, cold, just like at the Christmas party 2 months later. I'm sorry, he said, but this is what's best for everyone. Emma ran out of that mansion crying so hard she could barely see. She drove home in her old car, tears blurring everything. When she got to the apartment, she packed a bag and left. She couldn't stay there. She couldn't be in the place where she had been so happy with Daniel. She stayed with her best friend, Sarah, for 2 weeks. Sarah held Emma while she cried. She brought her tea and tissues. She told Emma that Daniel and his family were horrible people. You deserve so much better, Sarah said. You and that baby deserve the world. But Emma felt broken. She felt like maybe Margaret was right. Maybe she was just a nobody who had dreamed too big. Daniel's lawyers sent the divorce papers to Sarah's apartment. Emma stared at them for 3 days before she could even open the envelope. The papers were thick, full of legal words Emma didn't understand. But the meaning was clear. Daniel wanted to end their marriage. There was also a check. $500,000. Just like Robert had promised. Emma tore up the check and threw it in the trash. She didn't want their money. She wanted her husband back. She wanted the Daniel who had spilled coffee on her table and made her laugh. But that Daniel was gone. Maybe he had never been real. Emma's lawyer, a kind older woman named Mrs. Chun who worked for free sometimes for people who needed help, looked over the papers. This is a very standard divorce for a wealthy family, Mrs. Chun said gently. They're offering you money. You should take it, Emma. Think about your baby. I don't want anything from them, Emma said. Pride won't pay for diapers, Mrs. Chun said softly. You're going to be a single mother. Let them give you something. You earned it by loving their son. But Emma refused. She signed the papers agreeing to the divorce but crossed out every part about money. She wanted nothing from the Thompson family. Nothing but her dignity. Daniel called her once after he got the signed papers back. Why didn't you take the money? He asked. He sounded confused. Because I didn't marry you for money, Emma said. Her voice was cold now, strong. I married you because I loved you. But you don't understand love. Your family doesn't understand love. Money is all you people know. Emma, I don't. Just don't. Sign the papers and let me move on with my life. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I am sorry. For what it's worth. It's worth nothing, Emma said and hung up. That was 6 weeks before the Christmas party. 3 weeks before Christmas, Emma got a text from Daniel. Daniel, Mom is having her annual Christmas party. She wants you to come to sign the final divorce papers. Please come. Let's end this properly. Emma stared at the text. Why would Margaret want her at a party? The woman hated her. She texted back, Emma, why can't I just sign them somewhere else? Daniel, Mom insists. She says it's about closure or something. Please, Emma, just one last time. Then you never have to see any of us again. Emma's hand went to her pregnant belly. The baby was getting bigger. She was starting to show now. In 3 months, she would be a mother. She should say no. She should tell them all to leave her alone. But some broken part of her wanted to see Daniel one more time. Maybe to find even a tiny piece of the man she had loved. maybe to get real closure. So she typed, "Emma, fine. I'll be there." The biggest mistake of her life. Emma borrowed a simple black dress from Sarah. It was the only nice thing that fit over her pregnant belly. She didn't have money for new clothes. Teaching didn't pay much, and she had been saving every penny for the baby. She took a taxi to the Thompson mansion. She couldn't afford a taxi really, but her old car had broken down last week. Just another thing going wrong in her life. When she arrived at the mansion, it was decorated like something from a magazine. Thousands of white lights twinkled on the trees and bushes. A huge Christmas tree stood in the front window, decorated with gold and silver ornaments. Emma took a deep breath and walked to the door. A butler answered. Emma recognized him. His name was James, and he had always been kind to her. "Miss Emma," James said quietly. His eyes were sad. "I'm sorry about everything." "Thank you, James," Emma said. "The family is in the main ballroom. But Miss Emma, perhaps you should just sign the papers and leave quickly. The party, I don't think it will be pleasant for you." Emma should have listened to James, but she nodded and walked toward the ballroom anyway. The ballroom was full of people. Rich people in expensive clothes, drinking expensive wine, eating expensive food. A live band played Christmas music in the corner. Everything sparkled and shined. Emma felt like a dark cloud in her simple black dress. She saw Daniel immediately. He was standing by the bar with a beautiful woman Emma had never seen before. The woman was tall and thin with perfect blonde hair and a dress that probably cost more than Emma's car. She was laughing at something Daniel said, touching his arm. Emma's heart hurt, but she walked forward anyway. That's when Margaret saw her. "Oh, good. You're here." Margaret's voice was too loud, too cheerful. "Fake. Everyone, come here. We have a special guest." People turned to look. Daniel saw Emma and his face went pale. The blonde woman looked confused. "Who's that?" the blonde woman asked Daniel. "Nobody important," Daniel muttered. Margaret walked up to Emma with a huge smile on her face, but her eyes were cold. "Mean. Emma, dear. So glad you could make it to our Christmas party. We wanted everyone to be here for this special moment." "Special moment?" Emma asked quietly. Margaret clapped her hands. "Yes, you see, everyone here is family and close friends, and we wanted them all to witness the official end of Daniel's unfortunate mistake." People gasped. Some laughed. Emma felt sick. Margaret snapped her fingers and a lawyer appeared with the divorce papers on a silver tray. Like Emma's marriage was just another Christmas decoration. "Now, Emma, be a dear and sign these papers so my son can move on with his life," Margaret said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "You've taken up enough of his time." The blonde woman moved closer to Daniel. She wrapped her arm around his. Emma understood now. This was Victoria. Victoria Blackwood. The woman Daniel was supposed to marry all along. Emma's voice was too soft. Nobody could hear her over the Christmas music and the murmuring crowd. "Speak up," Margaret said. "Sign the papers." Emma's hands were shaking. The room felt too hot, too crowded. Everyone was staring at her, judging her, looking at her pregnant belly and her cheap dress. Jessica appeared with her mean smile. "Oh my God, she's huge. That baby is going to be so disappointed when it grows up and realizes its mother is a nobody." People laughed. They actually laughed. Emma looked at Daniel. Surely he would stop this. Surely he wouldn't let them humiliate her like this. But Daniel just stood there with Victoria on his arm, looking away. "Sign it faster," Margaret shouted, her fake smile gone now. "We don't have all night to watch you cry like a baby." Emma picked up the pen. Her tears fell onto the papers, making the ink run a little. "Good riddance," Jessica said, sipping her wine. "Finally, my brother can marry someone who actually belongs in our world. Not some nobody from nowhere." Emma's hand shook as she signed her name. Each letter felt like cutting out a piece of her heart. The Thompson family clapped and cheered. Victoria kissed Daniel on the cheek. Margaret hugged her son. Jessica raised her glass in a toast. "To Daniel's freedom," Jessica shouted. "And to the end of his biggest mistake." Everyone drank and cheered. Emma stood there, alone in a room full of people, with divorce papers in her hand and a baby in her belly. She turned to leave. That's when Margaret said the worst thing of all. "Oh, and Emma? Don't worry about child support. We'll send you a check every month. Can't have our grandchild growing up in complete poverty. Though really, you should probably just give the baby to us after it's born. We can raise it properly. Give it the life it deserves. Not the pathetic life you could provide." Something inside Emma snapped. She turned around slowly. Every eye in the room was on her. They were all smiling, laughing, enjoying her pain. "No," Emma said quietly. "What?" Margaret asked. "I said no," Emma said louder. Her voice didn't shake anymore. "You want to know something? You all stand here in your expensive clothes, in your expensive house, drinking your expensive wine, and you think that makes you better than me. You think money makes you powerful." "Emma, don't," Daniel started, but Emma held up her hand. "I wasn't finished," Emma said. Her eyes were fierce now. "You laughed at me. You mocked me. You treated me like garbage. You all did." She looked at each of them. Margaret, Robert, Jessica, Daniel, Victoria, all the guests. "But you don't know anything about me. You never asked. You never cared. You just assumed I was nobody because I chose to be a teacher. Because I didn't wear designer clothes. Because I didn't care about your stupid high society world." "Are you done?" Margaret asked coldly. "This is getting boring." Emma smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had a secret. "What none of you know," Emma said slowly, "is that my real name isn't Emma Martinez." The room went quiet. "My real name is Emma Victoria Montgomery." A few people in the crowd gasped. The name Montgomery meant something in this city. Something big. "My grandfather is Harrison Montgomery. Maybe you've heard of him? He owns Montgomery Global Corporation, the biggest real estate company in the world, worth about $50 billion. Margaret's face went white. "My father was his only son. When my parents died, I inherited everything. But I was young and sad and didn't want any of it. So I changed my name. I lived simply. I became a teacher because I wanted to help people, not buy people." Robert stood up, his face shocked. You're that Montgomery?" "Yes," Emma said. "And in 3 days, on my 27th birthday, my grandfather's lawyers are going to contact me. Because that's when I officially take control of my entire inheritance. Everything my parents left me. About $10 billion. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Emma looked at Daniel. His face was frozen in horror. "I was going to tell you after we got married a year," Emma said. "I wanted to make sure you loved me for me, not for my money. And I was right to wait. Because you don't love me. You never did." She looked at Margaret. "You called me a nobody. You said I had no family, no money, no connections." Emma's voice was ice cold now. "But in 3 days, I will be one of the richest women in the world. And do you know what I'm going to do with all that power?" Margaret couldn't speak. Her mouth just opened and closed like a fish. Emma leaned in close and whispered, but loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm going to destroy you. All of you. Your company. Your reputation. Your entire world. You wanted to throw me away like garbage? Fine. But garbage has a way of piling up and becoming a problem you can't ignore." Then Emma turned and walked out of the ballroom. Behind her, the room exploded with noise. Shouting, crying, chaos. But Emma didn't look back. She walked out into the cold Christmas night, put her hand on her pregnant belly, and smiled a real smile for the first time in months. "Don't worry, baby," she whispered. "Mommy's going to make everything right." Remember how Emma walked out of that Christmas party after revealing she was secretly a billionaire heiress? Remember how the Thompson family laughed at her, humiliated her, and made her sign divorce papers in front of everyone? Well, what happened in the next 7 days changed everything. Emma woke up on Christmas morning in Sarah's small apartment. For the first time in months, she didn't cry when she opened her eyes. Sarah knocked on the bedroom door with a cup of hot chocolate. "Merry Christmas," Sarah said softly. How are you feeling? Different, Emma said, touching her pregnant belly. I feel free. Emma, what you said last night at that party? About being a Montgomery? Is that true? Emma nodded. Every word. Sarah sat down on the bed, her mouth open. You're that Montgomery? The real estate billionaires? Emma, why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted people to like me for me, Emma said. After my parents died, everyone treated me differently. People were only nice because they wanted money. I was so lonely, Sarah. So I changed my name, moved to a new city, and started over. And then you met Daniel, Sarah said quietly. And then I met Daniel, Emma repeated. I thought he was different. I thought he loved me. But his family was right about one thing. I was just a nobody to him. He would have thrown me away eventually, pregnant or not. Sarah hugged her friend. So what happens now? Emma's eyes became hard, cold, like steel. Now I keep my promise. I'm going to destroy them. While Emma was drinking hot chocolate, the Thompson family was falling apart. Margaret hadn't slept all night. She paced back and forth in her bedroom while Robert sat on the bed with his head in his hands. This is a disaster, Margaret said for the 100th time. A complete disaster. You think I don't know that? Robert snapped. Do you have any idea what Emma Montgomery could do to us? Her family owns half the buildings in this city. They have connections everywhere. Downstairs, Daniel sat alone in the living room. Victoria had left the party immediately after Emma's big reveal. She wouldn't return Daniel's calls or texts. Jessica burst into the room, her phone in her hand. It's all over the news. Someone leaked what happened at the party. She showed Daniel her phone. The headline read, Billionaire heiress humiliated at Christmas party by husband's family vows revenge. Below the headline was a picture someone had taken of Emma signing the divorce papers while crying. And another picture of the Thompson family laughing and cheering. Who leaked this? Margaret screamed, running into the room. Does it matter? Robert said tiredly. The damage is done. We humiliated one of the most powerful families in the world. Daniel finally spoke. His voice was hollow. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know who she really was. Of course you didn't know, you idiot. Margaret yelled at her son. Because you were too busy feeling sorry for yourself to actually ask your wife about her life. About her family. You told me to divorce her. Daniel shouted back. This is your fault. My fault. Margaret's face turned red. You're the one who married her without a proper background check. You're the one who got her pregnant. Stop, Robert said loudly. Fighting each other won't help. We need a plan. Jessica was still scrolling through her phone. Her face kept getting paler and paler. Guys? It gets worse. How could it possibly get worse? Margaret asked. Jessica showed them her phone. People are canceling their contracts with Thompson Industries. 3 of our biggest clients just sent emails saying they don't want to do business with us anymore. Robert grabbed the phone. His hands started shaking. No. What? Daniel asked. Blackwood Tech just canceled our merger deal, Robert whispered. The deal worth $2 billion. They said Victoria's family doesn't want to be associated with people who treat pregnant women like garbage. Margaret sat down hard on the couch. This can't be happening. But it was happening. And it was only the beginning. Emma sat in a fancy law office downtown. Across from her sat 3 lawyers in expensive suits. These were her grandfather's lawyers. The head lawyer, Mr. Stevens, was an older man with white hair and kind eyes. Miss Montgomery, he said gently, we were so sorry to hear about what happened at that Christmas party. Your grandfather would have been furious. Emma's grandfather had died 2 years ago. She missed him every day. Grandpa always said that money shows you who people really are, Emma said quietly. He was a wise man, Mr. Stevens agreed. Now, let's discuss your inheritance. In 2 days, on your 27th birthday, you will officially take control of the Montgomery fortune. That includes $10 billion in cash and assets, controlling shares in Montgomery Global Corporation, and ownership of over 500 properties worldwide. Emma nodded. She had known this day would come, but hearing the numbers out loud still shocked her. What can I do with that power? Emma asked. Legally, I mean, Mr. Stevens smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Miss Montgomery, with that much money and influence? You can do almost anything. What did you have in mind? Emma leaned forward. I want to destroy the Thompson family business. I want them to feel what I felt. Powerless. Humiliated. Thrown away like garbage. The other two lawyers looked uncomfortable, but Mr. Stevens just nodded. It can be done, he said. Thompson Industries relies heavily on real estate leases for their factories and offices. Leases that are owned by Montgomery Global Corporation, Emma finished. My corporation. Exactly. We could terminate their leases. We could also suggest to our other business partners that working with the Thompsons might not be in their best interest. Do it, Emma said without hesitation. All of it. Robert stood in his office looking at a letter that had just arrived. His face was gray like ash. Daniel walked in. Dad? What's wrong now? Robert handed him the letter without speaking. Daniel read it. His hands started shaking. The letter was from Montgomery Global Corporation. It said that all of Thompson Industries' lease agreements were being terminated. Effective immediately. They had 30 days to vacate all properties. This is all our factories, Daniel whispered. Our offices. Our warehouses. Everything. I know, Robert said quietly. Can they do this? They own the buildings, Daniel. Yes, they can do this. Daniel sat down hard in a chair. We have to talk to Emma. We have to apologize. Make this right. Robert laughed, but it was a bitter sound. Apologize? You humiliated her at a Christmas party in front of 50 people. Your mother called her garbage. Jessica mocked her baby. What apology could possibly fix that? There has to be something we can do. Robert looked at his son. Really looked at him. You loved her, didn't you? Really loved her. Daniel put his head in his hands. I thought I was doing what was best for the family. What you and Mom wanted. But yes, I loved her. I still love her. Then you're a fool, Robert said coldly. You threw away real love for what? Money? Status? And now we're losing both anyway. Sarah helped Emma move into a beautiful new apartment. Not a mansion. Emma still didn't like showing off. But it was nice. Safe. Perfect for her and the baby. Emma's phone had been ringing nonstop for 3 days. Daniel called. Margaret called. Even Jessica called. Emma blocked all their numbers. But on day 4 someone else called. Someone Emma didn't expect. It was Victoria Blackwood. Emma almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Hello, Emma said. Emma Montgomery? Victoria's voice was smooth and educated. This is Victoria Blackwood. We met briefly at the party. I remember, Emma said coldly. What do you want? I want to apologize, Victoria said. I didn't know you were Daniel's wife. He told me you two were already divorced. He said you had left him months ago. Emma's anger flared. He lied to you. I know that now, and I want you to know that my family has cut all ties with the Thompsons. What they did to you was horrible. Unforgivable. Emma was quiet for a moment. Why are you really calling, Victoria? Victoria sighed. Because I was almost you. 3 years ago I was engaged to a man I loved. But he was poor. My parents made me end it. They said I had to marry someone appropriate. Someone rich. Someone like Daniel Thompson. And did you? Emma asked. No. I refused. I walked away from my family for a year. I worked a regular job. I learned what real life was like. Eventually, my parents apologized and accepted that I would choose my own path. Good for you, Emma said. But her voice was still cold. My point is, Victoria continued, I understand why you're angry. You have every right to be. But Emma, there's something you should know about Daniel. I don't want to hear it. He's been sleeping in his car for 2 days. Emma froze. What? Margaret kicked him out. She blames him for everything. She said he's no longer her son until he fixes this mess. But there's no fixing it, is there? So he's been living in his car in his office parking lot. Emma's heart hurt, but she pushed the feeling away. That's not my problem. You're right. It's not. But Emma, I've been watching him. He sits in that car and he cries. He holds a picture of you and he just breaks. I don't think he's slept. I don't think he's eaten. Why are you telling me this? Emma asked, her voice breaking a little. Because revenge feels good in the moment, Victoria said softly. But it doesn't heal the hurt. Trust me. I know. Emma hung up the phone. She sat on her new couch in her new apartment and put her hand on her pregnant belly. The baby kicked. What do I do? Emma whispered to her unborn child. Do I keep destroying them? Or do I let it go? The baby kicked again as if answering. Emma was at the hospital for a regular checkup when it happened. She was lying on the examination table, the ultrasound wand on her belly, watching her baby move on the screen. The doctor smiled. Everything looks perfect, the doctor said. Your baby is healthy and strong. Thank God, Emma whispered, tears in her eyes. Happy tears this time. Then the nurse ran into the room, looking panicked. Doctor, we need you. Car accident victim just arrived. It's bad. The doctor ran out. Emma sat up, pulling her shirt down. She was about to leave when she heard a name that made her freeze. Patient is Daniel Thompson, age 30. Major car accident. He's unconscious and losing blood fast. Emma's world stopped. Without thinking, she ran toward the emergency room. A nurse tried to stop her. Ma'am, you can't go in there. That's my husband. Emma screamed. Let me see him. The nurse's face softened. I'm sorry. You'll have to wait here. Emma sat in the waiting room, her whole body shaking. She called the Thompson family. Margaret answered. What do you want? Margaret's voice was cold. Daniel was in a car accident, Emma said. He's at Memorial Hospital. You need to come now. Margaret gasped. Is he alive? I don't know. Just come. 20 minutes later, the whole Thompson family burst into the hospital. Margaret, Robert, Jessica, and even Brad. When Margaret saw Emma sitting in the waiting room, she stopped. You, Margaret said. Her voice was full of hate. This is your fault. He was so upset about what you're doing to us that he crashed his car. Mom, stop, Jessica said quietly. For once, she wasn't being mean. She just looked scared. A doctor came out. Everyone rushed toward him. Family of Daniel Thompson? We're his family, Robert said. How is he? He's stable. He has a broken arm, 3 broken ribs, and a concussion. But he'll survive. He's very lucky. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Can we see him? Margaret asked. He's awake, but he's been asking for someone. Someone named Emma? Everyone looked at Emma. Go, Margaret said quietly. Emma had never heard her sound so defeated, so human. Go see him. Emma walked into Daniel's hospital room on shaky legs. Daniel was lying in the bed, bandaged and bruised. When he saw Emma, tears started falling from his eyes. Emma, he whispered. You came. The hospital called, Emma said, trying to keep her voice cold. But seeing him like this hurt. It hurt so much. I'm sorry, Daniel said. I'm so sorry. For everything. For my family. For being weak. For not fighting for you. For not protecting you. Daniel. I was driving to your new apartment, Daniel continued. I was going to beg you to forgive me. To give me another chance. I wasn't paying attention and I crashed. Emma's hand went to her belly. You could have died. I know. And all I could think about as the car was spinning was that I would never get to tell you the truth. What truth? Daniel looked at her with eyes full of pain and love. That I love you. That I never stopped loving you. That I was a coward who chose money over the best thing that ever happened to me. That you and our baby are the only things that matter. Emma felt tears on her cheeks. You said I was a mistake. You let your family humiliate me. I know. and I will regret that every day for the rest of my life. But Emma, I'm not asking you to take me back. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to let me be a father to our baby. Please, I'll sign any papers you want. I'll stay away from you. Just, please let me know my child. Emma stood there, crying, with one hand on her belly and one hand over her heart. Emma didn't sleep that night. She sat in her apartment, thinking about everything. Sarah came over with ice cream and tissues. What are you going to do? Sarah asked. I don't know, Emma admitted. Part of me wants to watch them all suffer. They deserve it, Sarah. They really do. They do, Sarah agreed. But Emma, you're not like them. That's why we love you. You're kind. You're good. You care about people. They didn't care about me. No, they didn't. But if you destroy them completely, if you take everything from them, won't you become just like Margaret? Cold? Mean? Vindictive? Emma put her head in her hands. I don't know what to do. Sarah took her friend's hand. Look at your belly, Emma. Look at that baby. What kind of world do you want to bring that child into? A world of revenge and hate? Or a world where people can change? Where people can earn forgiveness? Emma looked down at her pregnant stomach. The baby kicked, as if listening to their conversation. But how do I forgive them? Emma whispered. How do I forgive what they did? You don't have to forgive them all at once, Sarah said. Maybe you start with just one person. The one who seems truly sorry. Emma knew Sarah was talking about Daniel. Emma woke up on her 27th birthday. Today, she officially became one of the richest women in the world. Mr. Stevens called at exactly 9 a.m. Happy birthday, Miss Montgomery. Everything is ready. You now have full access to your inheritance. What would you like us to do about the Thompson situation? Emma took a deep breath. Set up a meeting. With Daniel. Just Daniel. Tell him to meet me at Riverside Park at noon. Are you sure? Mr. Stevens asked. No, Emma said honestly. But I'm doing it anyway. Daniel arrived at the park with his arm in a cast and bandages on his face. He looked terrible. Thin. Tired. Broken. Emma sat on a bench wearing a simple blue dress. Her belly was big now. Very pregnant. Daniel sat down next to her carefully, like he was afraid she might run away. For a long time, neither of them spoke. They just watched the river flow by. Finally, Emma said, I could destroy your family completely. Did you know that? Yes, Daniel said quietly. I could take everything. The company, the house, their reputation, everything. I know. Would you hate me if I did? Daniel looked at her. Really looked at her. No, I would understand. We deserve it. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Tell me about the day we met. The real story. Not the one you told your family. Daniel smiled a little. It was sad and sweet at the same time. I saw you reading in that coffee shop. You were so focused on your book, you didn't notice anything else. I thought you were the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. You spilled coffee on my table on purpose. Didn't you? Emma asked. Daniel looked surprised. How did you know? Because you were carrying that coffee away from the counter. Away from my table. You had to turn around and walk back to spill it. Daniel laughed softly. You're right. Panicked. I wanted to talk to you, but I didn't know how. So I spilled my coffee like an idiot. Why didn't you tell me about your family right away? For the same reason you didn't tell me about yours, Daniel said. I wanted you to like me for me, not for my money or my family name. For 6 months I was just Daniel, not a Thompson, just me. And you loved me anyway. Emma felt tears coming again. I did love you. So much. Past tense, Daniel noticed. His voice cracked. I killed that love, didn't I? Emma didn't answer right away. She looked at the water, at the sky, at her belly. My grandfather used to tell me a story, Emma finally said, about a man who made a terrible mistake. He hurt everyone he loved. But instead of giving up, he spent the rest of his life making it right. Slowly, day by day. He could never erase what he did. But he could try to be better. Daniel listened, hope flickering in his eyes. Are you willing to spend the rest of your life making this right? Emma asked. Not just saying sorry, actually proving it. Every single day. Yes, Daniel said immediately. Yes, I'll do anything. Everything. Emma turned to face him. Here are my conditions. You will go to therapy. Real therapy. To learn how to stand up to your mother. To learn how to be your own man. Okay. You will get a job somewhere else. Not at your family company. You'll earn your own money. Build your own life. Okay. You will be a father to our baby. A real father. Not a weekend dad. Not a check-writing dad. A real, present, hands-on father. Yes, absolutely yes. And you will never, ever let anyone disrespect me or our child again. Not your mother. Not your sister. Not anyone. You will choose us over them. Every time. Daniel was crying now. I promise. I swear on everything, Emma. I'll choose you. I'll choose our baby. Every single time. Emma pulled out a piece of paper from her purse. It was the divorce papers. Daniel's face fell. Oh, but then Emma did something he didn't expect. She ripped the papers in half. You're not divorcing me? Daniel asked, his voice full of shock and hope. I'm not deciding anything today, Emma said. But I'm giving you a chance. One chance. To prove you're the man I thought you were when you spilled that coffee. Daniel grabbed her hand. I won't waste it. I promise I won't waste it. Don't make promises, Emma said. Just show me. Through your actions. Daniel kept his promise. He moved out of his family's world completely. He got a job as a project manager at a small tech company. The pay was much less than what he made at his family's business, but he didn't care. He went to therapy twice a week. He learned about boundaries, about standing up for himself, about being strong enough to choose love over fear. He rented a small apartment near Emma's place. Every day he would visit her, bring her food, rub her swollen feet, go to baby doctor appointments with her. And slowly, very slowly, Emma started to see the Daniel she had fallen in love with. The real Daniel. Not the weak man controlled by his family, but the strong man who chose to change. Meanwhile, the Thompson family was falling apart without Daniel. Margaret had to sell the mansion. They downsized to a regular house. Thompson Industries lost so much money that they had to sell parts of the company. Robert had to retire. Jessica's husband Brad left her when the money dried up. Emma could have kept destroying them, but she didn't. Instead, she used her power to help others. She started a charity for pregnant single mothers. She opened free schools in poor neighborhoods. She used her billions to make the world better. One day, Margaret showed up at Emma's apartment. Emma opened the door, surprised. She hadn't seen Margaret in weeks. Margaret looked different. Older. Tired. Humble. I came to apologize, Margaret said quietly. For everything I said. Everything I did. You were right to hate me. Emma stood there, her hand on her very pregnant belly. I was wrong about you, Margaret continued. So wrong. You're not a nobody. You never were. And even if you had no money at all, you still would be a better person than I ever was. Why are you telling me this? Emma asked. Because Daniel told me that you're letting him be a father. And I'm asking, begging, for you to let me be a grandmother. I know I don't deserve it, but that baby is my grandchild. And I promise I will never treat your child the way I treated you. Emma looked at Margaret for a long time. Then she said, actions, not words. If you want to be in my child's life, you have to prove you've changed. Just like Daniel is proving it. I will, Margaret said. Every day. I promise. Emma went into labor on a sunny day in March. Daniel rushed her to the hospital. He held her hand through every contraction. He wiped her forehead. He told her she was strong and brave and amazing. Sarah was there too. And surprisingly, so was Margaret. She stood in the corner of the room, quiet and respectful. After 12 hours of labor, Emma gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. The moment Emma held her daughter, she started crying. Happy tears. Healing tears. She's perfect. Emma whispered. Daniel was crying too. She looks like you. She has your nose, Emma said, laughing through her tears. They named her Grace. Grace Victoria Montgomery Thompson. A name that combined both their families. A name that represented hope and new beginnings. Margaret asked quietly, "May I hold her?" Emma looked at Daniel. He nodded. Emma carefully handed the baby to Margaret. Margaret looked down at her granddaughter and started crying. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the baby. "I'm sorry I was so mean to your mommy. I promise I'll be better for you. I'll be the grandmother you deserve." Emma sat in the park, the same park where she had given Daniel his second chance. Grace was sleeping in her stroller. Daniel sat next to Emma, his arm around her shoulders. "I've been thinking," Emma said. "About what?" Daniel asked. "About us. About giving us a real second chance." Daniel's heart started beating faster. "Really? You've proven yourself," Emma said. "Every day for 6 months. You've shown me that you've changed. You chose us over your family. You got therapy. You became the man I always knew you could be. Does this mean?" Emma smiled. "Let's renew our vows. A real wedding this time, with people who actually love us. And let's do it right." Daniel kissed her. It was soft and sweet and full of promise. "I love you, Emma Victoria Montgomery, and I will spend the rest of my life proving I deserve you." "You already have," Emma said. In the distance, Margaret and Robert were walking toward them. They had asked to spend time with Grace. Emma had agreed. Margaret had changed. She volunteered at Emma's charity now. She helped pregnant women who had nowhere to go. She was trying to make up for the pain she had caused. Jessica still struggled. She was bitter about losing everything. But she was in therapy too. Maybe one day she would change. As Emma watched her daughter sleep peacefully, she realized something important. Revenge hadn't healed her. Destroying the Thompson family hadn't made her feel better. What healed her was love. Forgiveness. Giving people a chance to change. She could have kept being angry. She could have held on to the hurt forever. But that would have only poisoned her heart. Instead, she chose to let it go. Not because the Thompsons deserved forgiveness, but because SHE deserved peace. And as she sat in the park with her husband and her daughter, watching the sun set over the river, Emma finally felt whole again. The girl they called nobody had become somebody. Not because of her money, not because of her family name, but because she was brave enough to love, strong enough to forgive, and wise enough to know the difference between revenge and healing. Emma and Daniel renewed their vows in a small ceremony with real friends and changed family members. Emma continued running her charity, helping thousands of single mothers every year. Daniel built a successful career on his own merit, never relying on family money again. Margaret became the grandmother she always should have been, kind, supportive, and humble. Robert and Jessica slowly rebuilt their lives with honesty and hard work. And little Grace grew up surrounded by love, never knowing the cruelty that had once defined her family. Because Emma made a choice that night at the Christmas party. She chose to be better than the people who hurt her. She chose love over hate. She chose healing over revenge. And in the end, that choice saved them all. So what do you think? Did Emma make the right choice? Should she have forgiven them? Or should she have destroyed them completely? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And if this story touched your heart, if it made you feel something real, then please subscribe to this channel to support our growth. Hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear this story, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next incredible tale. Remember, forgiveness isn't about letting people off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the prison of anger. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is choose peace over revenge. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.